Hey Bears fans, here we are again with another hot update about our beloved Chicago Bears. And today's topic is the kind that makes every fan sit up and pay attention. We're talking about Trey Hendrickson, one of the most dominant pass rushers in the NFL right now, and how his uncertain future in Cincinnati could end up causing major headaches for Chicago, especially if the worst-case scenario becomes reality. Seeing him land with one of our biggest NFC North rivals for months now, Bears fans have been dreaming about the possibility of adding a game-wrecking edge rusher to pair with Montez Sweat. And naturally, Trey Hendrickson's name kept coming up in those conversations. The guy has been a nightmare for offenses across the league. Let's not forget what he's accomplished in recent seasons, back-to-back years with over 17 sacks for straight Pro Bowl appearances. And for the first time in his career, an All-Pro selection after leading the entire NFL in sacks last season. This isn't just any pass rusher we're talking about. This is a guy who changes the dynamics of a defense from the moment he steps on the field. But as much as Bears fans would love to see him suiting up in navy and orange, the reality is starting to hit hard. The Bengals and Hendrickson are at a standoff. He wants a new long-term contract, something that reflects his status as one of the league's elite defensive players. Meanwhile, Cincinnati seems hesitant to commit, which has left the door wide open for trade speculation. And while a move to Chicago seemed like a fun off-season fantasy, the new reports coming out suggest that the Green Bay Packers are emerging as the most realistic destination. And let's be honest, hearing that hurts a lot. It's one thing to miss out on a star player. It's something entirely different when that star ends up on the roster of your most hated rival. According to multiple insiders, the Packers check a lot of boxes that make them the frontrunners in this sweepstakes. First, there's the financial side. Green Bay has more available cap space than teams like the Washington Commanders. That gives them more flexibility to absorb Hendrickson's current deal and negotiate any potential extension. Then there's the roster situation. The Lions may have a strong defense already and the Commanders are going through their own rebuild. But the Packers, they are right in the middle of needing exactly what Hendrickson offers. Last season, Rashan Gary was the team's sack leader, but with just 7.5 sacks. After him, there was a significant drop-off. Devontae Wyatt was the only other player who even reached 5 sacks. The rest of the group is made up of young, unproven names like Kingsley Enagbare, Brenton Cox, and Lucas Van Ness. These guys might have potential, but none of them have shown they can be a consistent threat. Yet, that's where Hendrickson comes in. Plugging him into that Packers defense would immediately elevate their pass rush. He and Gary together on the edge would form a tandem that offensive coordinators around the league would lose sleep over, and the depth behind them would become a serious weapon. With Hendrickson drawing constant double teams, other players on Green Bay's defensive line would have much more room to operate and make plays. Opposing quarterbacks would find themselves under relentless pressure from multiple directions on every snap. And think about what that would mean for the Bears. Twice a year, Chicago would have to face this new-look Packers front. Imagine the stress on the offensive line, knowing that every passing down would bring a fresh wave of pressure from two elite edge rushers. The game plans would need to change entirely just to keep the quarterback upright. Extra blockers, quicker throws, more max protection schemes. It would force the Bears into playing on their heels every time they lined up against Green Bay. What makes this scenario even more frustrating is that, while the Bears have been linked to Hendrickson in plenty of off-season rumors, there's been little to no concrete indication that Chicago is making a serious push. Sure, there's always the chance that general manager Ryan Poles surprises everyone and pulls off a blockbuster move, but right now it feels more like wishful thinking than an actual possibility. Part of the reason is financial. The Bears already handed out a massive contract to Montez Sweat, locking him in with a deal worth nearly $100 million. On top of that, they recently signed Dayo Odeyingbo to a 3-year agreement worth $48 million. That's a lot of money already committed to the pass rush. Adding Hendrickson would require another big investment, both in terms of cap space and the kind of draft capital it would take to pry him away from Cincinnati. And then there's the question of timing. Right now, the trade deadline is still months away. Most franchises, including the Bears, aren't fully focused on mid-season trades yet. They're evaluating their rosters, seeing how players develop in training camp and early games. Unless Chicago comes out of the gates hot and clearly positions themselves as playoff contenders, it's hard to imagine them making an aggressive win-now move that would deplete future assets. The Packers, however, seem to be in a different mindset. They made a surprise playoff push last season and showed they can hang with the best teams in the conference. Adding a player like Hendrickson would be a statement move, signaling that Green Bay isn't just trying to make the playoffs, they're trying to make a deep run. And unfortunately for the Bears, that's the kind of move that could tilt the balance of power in the NFC North for years to come. Of course, nothing is official yet. The Bengals still have decisions to make. Hendrickson's contract situation remains unresolved. But as the offseason progresses and we inch closer to training camps, this storyline is only going to heat up. Bears fans are left watching and waiting, hoping that somehow, someway, their team doesn't have to line up against Trey Hendrickson in green and gold twice a season. As the speculation around Trey Hendrickson's future continues to swirl, the challenges facing the Chicago Bears in landing him become even clearer. It's not just about wanting the player or having the vision of what he could bring to the team. There are real obstacles standing in the way, from salary cap limitations to draft capital considerations that make the possibility of a trade much more complicated than many fans realize. One of the biggest hurdles is the financial commitment that acquiring Hendrickson would require. Despite leading the league in sacks, Hendrickson remains without a long-term deal in Cincinnati. His contract demands are high, and any team looking to acquire him will have to meet those expectations. The Bears already have Montez Sweat locked into a massive contract worth nearly $100 million, and that alone puts a huge strain on their cap flexibility. Adding Hendrickson's salary on top of that would mean the Bears would have to either clear space elsewhere or be willing to pay a significant luxury tax, which is rarely a preferred path for a team focused on sustainable success. Chicago also recently committed to Dayo Odeyingbo, signing him to a multi-year deal worth $48 million. While Odeyingbo is still developing as a pass rusher, his contract further tightens the financial leash on the Bears. With Montez Sweat and Dayo Odeyingbo on the books, the Bears are already invested heavily in their pass rushers. To bring Hendrickson in would mean they are pouring a significant amount of their salary cap into three edge players, which might not be the best balance for the roster as a whole. Then there is the cost in terms of draft capital. Trey Hendrickson is an elite player, and acquiring someone of his caliber always comes at a steep price. The Bengals, who have yet to come to a contract agreement with him, are likely to demand multiple high draft picks in exchange. For a Bears team that is still in the process of building a solid foundation under their general manager, mortgaging a large chunk of future drafts could be a risky move. The arrival of offensive coordinator Ben Johnson has sparked excitement about the team's potential, but the roster is far from complete. Trading away valuable draft assets could stall that growth and leave the Bears struggling to fill other critical holes on the roster. On top of those practical issues, there's the matter of timing. The NFL trade deadline doesn't come until later in the season, and while speculation is already buzzing, no team is officially planning to make a move just yet. The Bears will need to evaluate their performance through the early part of the season before deciding if they want to go all in on a player like Hendrickson. If the team finds itself firmly in the playoff hunt, the temptation to push for that kind of upgrade will grow. But until then, management will likely proceed cautiously, balancing the need for immediate impact against the long-term health of the franchise. Facing off against the possibility of the Packers landing Hendrickson is another layer of frustration. For Bears fans, Green Bay has made no secret of their desire to bolster their defense, and Hendrickson fits perfectly into their plans. Gary led the Packers last season with 7.5 sacks, but beyond him, the pass rush was inconsistent. At best, adding a proven edge rusher like Hendrickson would give Green Bay a much more dangerous front, creating matchup nightmares for opposing offenses. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Chicago Bears. And don't be shy, drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. A seismic shift in the NFL landscape could be on the horizon, as hushed tones from league insiders suggest a monumental betrayal might be unfolding. Rumors are swirling with increasing intensity that Nick Bosa, the reigning Defensive Player of the Year and cornerstone of the San Francisco 49ers' formidable defense, could be abandoning the Bay Area for the bright lights and burgeoning ambitions of the Chicago Bears. While Bosa is currently under a lucrative long-term deal with the 49ers, whispers of discontent and a desire for a fresh start have been quietly circulating for months. Now, those murmurs are growing louder, fueled by anonymous sources close to both organizations. The speculation posits that a groundbreaking deal involving a hefty package of draft capital and potentially other players, is being meticulously crafted behind closed doors. The prospect of Bosa donning a Bears uniform is nothing short of electrifying for Chicago fans, who have long craved an elite pass-rushing presence to anchor their defense. Imagine the havoc Bosa could wreak alongside an already promising young core. For the 49ers faithful, however, this would represent a devastating blow. A betrayal of the highest order from a player they've built their defensive identity around. Sources suggest that the 49ers, despite publicly affirming their commitment to Bosa, might be more open to a trade than previously believed, especially after a somewhat underwhelming individual performance last season compared to his DPOY campaign. The financial implications of his massive contract, coupled with the potential to acquire a haul of draft picks for a rebuilding or retooling phase, could be a driving force behind San Francisco's alleged willingness to explore this shocking possibility. This isn't a done deal, of course. These are merely whispers, a growing buzz in the NFL rumor mill. But the sheer audacity of the idea, Nick Bosa, the face of the 49ers defense, potentially leaving for the Bears, is enough to send shockwaves across the league. Keep a close eye on this developing story if there's any truth to these whispers. The NFL landscape is about to be irrevocably altered. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Chicago Bears, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.